Well, hello there, guys. Today we're taking a look at the Gates of Hell Ostfront most recent DLC. Absolutely beautiful stuff, and I gotta say, if you're a fan of wargaming, especially cinematic battles, you are gonna absolutely adore this DLC. Now, the name of this actual DLC is Scorched Earth, and we're going to actually take a look at both the German mission and the Soviet mission for this particular one. I mean, there's a lot here. If we jump into Ostfront, only the DLC indicated ones are actually part of this new downloadable content. And the final offensive here, I mean, in terms of, like, tank battles, this is fantastic. It's also all the way in 1944, so in terms of, getting to the end of the war, this is definitely one of those places where you're going to have a lot of fun playing. So let's jump into the final offensive and kind of see what it's about, the story.
March 1945. On the Eastern Front, Budapest has been taken by the Soviets in February. The last Hungarian oil reserves available to the Axis have also been lost. Hitler decides a counterattack must be conducted to regain control of the oil fields. Ignoring conditions, General Balck and the resurrected 6th Army are sent to the attack. His forces, among which the 3rd Panzer Corps, will be part of a pincer attack on the area southeast of Lake Balaton. The objective is to reach the Danube River and secure the oil. On March 6th, the main force attacks from the north side of Balaton. They advance fairly quickly, while the southern pincer gets bogged down without achieving meaningful progress. Balck pushes on through the muddy terrain, while hardly any reserves are available and fuel is not being supplied at all. In this mission, you will be put in charge of the attack on the village of Sargenta Gotha. Your supply state is critical, and therefore your first objectives will be to take the Soviet fuel and supply dumps. Once you have resupplied your units, you will need to push on to take the enemy HQ to eliminate any threat of a counterattack. Good luck.
So as you can see, guys, this is the Battle of Sargenta Gotha, and I was actually saying 1944. This is 1945. We're really getting to the end of the war here, and the fact that we can play this in Ostfront is really quite fun. Now, the Soviet battles are just as cinematic, but I want to show you guys this one just because it's a great example of a massive tank battle. You get Tigers, you get Panzer IVs, whatever you're really looking for, Panthers, etc. And let's just take a look here. Now, of course, this was sort of the last attempt of the Germans to capture any real oil fields in Hungary, and really it was the final large oil field that the Germans could have held on to, even though essentially we're only separated by a river with the Soviets on the other side. If we could capture this, we might be able to buy a few more months in the war. Now, as you can see, the Soviet forces are entrenched, and there's a reason they call this DLC Scorched Earth. I think it's primarily because you can actually turn everything into Scorched Earth. I'm going to give you guys an example, of course. We're going to send our first tank line right into battle, and I want to make sure we get to use those Nebelwerfers. They are incredible, as you can imagine. The other thing I really like about this particular DLC is if you're like me and you just want to play pretty much like a battle where you're attacking, trying to capture the next point, this is going to be that. You can, of course, call in Panzer Grenadiers, but to be able to unlock victory points for those Panzer Grenadiers, you do need to take locations. And as you can see, the Soviets are already waiting for us. I mean, this is late in the war. They definitely know how to deal with the Germans right now. We're going to do everything we can to make the Germans victorious in this short fight. Man, look at that. Let's get those Nebelwerfers as well. I really want to show you guys those in action. They are just absolutely beautiful weapons. Let's take this, and here we go. Let's send some over here, too. As you can see, we might not have Katyushas, but those help quite a bit. We also have a bunch of tanks over here, but like I said before, this is the end of the war, and the Soviets absolutely know how to deal with the Germans. They are ready for these Panzers, these Tigers, as a matter of fact, and they're ready to deal with them quite ruthlessly. Of course, you can have a hell of a tank battle in this particular one, and this is not the only German addition to the DLC. The famous battle at Pavlov's house, as well as the Battle of Sevastopol, is out here. And when you're playing that Battle of Sevastopol, you actually get to use the Gustav howitzer gun. It's this massive, massive howitzer, absolutely devastating to any enemy forces, as you can imagine, and it's a whole lot of fun. Of course, over here for this battle, you know, these are not the only tanks we've got. We've got some armor back here, and we've got a bunch of different areas to take, including quite a lot of actual infantry, which we're going to use to sort of push into the enemy line. Well, that being said, I give you guys a look at one of the battles for the DLC here. Let's take a look at one from the Soviet perspective and see what it has to offer. The only thing that I sort of wish this had is, of course, a final battle for Berlin, although I think that's asking just a little bit too much, unfortunately. Nonetheless, they've done a really nice job with these fights. So, sorry guys, there is the Battle for Pavlov's house. This is the Soviet perspective. We've also got the Citadel and Street to Street, as well as the Königsberg Cauldron. Now, I sort of showed you the final battle for the Germans, but for the Soviets, why don't I go ahead and actually show you the Street to Street element of the DLC here, so you get a look at that. Let me know also in the comments down below,
November
which DLC are
1943.
you interested in playing,
During
the German
operations
or the
Rumyantsev and
Soviet?
Kutuzov, the double Soviet counterattack that eclipsed the German attacks at Kursk, the Red Army has gained a massive amount of terrain. The front line has moved hundreds of kilometers in the past few months. After a last push on the east of the Dnieper, the Soviets have now regained all territory east of the river. The Germans have decided to set up defenses on the west bank, naming this the Wotan Line. Even before construction work is finished, however, the Soviets are already across the Dnieper at Lyutezh, north of Kiev. Stavka launches the Lyutezh offensive operation, which widens the bridgehead. From there, the Soviets break out to the south in a wide sweep around Kiev. The German 7th Army Corps has no choice but to fall back west, abandoning Kiev completely. Brushing any opposition aside, the 3rd Guards Tank Army leads the way toward Fastov, a railway node south of Kiev. This particular city will need to be taken and all enemies removed to deny them a chance at regrouping. In this mission, you and your trusted comrades will lead the way south into Fastov. You will need to heed the lessons that were learned during the street fighting at Stalingrad to pull this one off. Most roads to the center seem to have been blocked thoroughly. You will need to flank the enemy if your troops are to reach their final objective, which is to eliminate the enemy's core position in this part of the town. Good luck.
Now again, something I love about this particular battle in the DLC, it really gives us a chance to experience that urban combat that all too often in these, let's just be honest here, these sort of Men of War style games, you don't get a chance to really experience that. It's always going to be in the open field, and if there are buildings, the urban combat is poorly represented. So whether or not it's going to be well represented in this particular modification, I guess only time will really tell. Gotta love those explosions. There's the German 88 gun firing off, and I'm sure we're gonna have to jump in here and hopefully wipe out these fascists to a man, of course capturing the city. But like I said, this really gives you that opportunity to get into urban combat. The only thing I've seen similar to this is a Spanish Civil War mod for Men of War Assault Squad 2. And look at this, the wonderful Flammenpanzer, well, the Soviet Flammenpanzer, is going to get into action here. Alright guys, we can't show any mercy. Let's get in there and crush the enemy. Gotta love that amount of actual detail. And of course, the winter is here. It is freezing. That's not gonna stop us from laying waste to this fascist foe. Let's get that SKFC2. Might as well wipe that out. And you know what? These men might as well take cover. I'm sure in these urban fights, you're going to want to be very careful. But thankfully, in this DLC, as you can see, you're going to be able to bring in additional tanks, bring in additional infantry, whatever you need to take the city. And I think that just adds a whole another level of immersion here. So I'm actually going to bring these guys forward, try to attack over here, and just take the square from the Germans. Hurrah! You know what? We might as well put some of the guys over here, too, and really go for the entire square here. But I absolutely love this. Now, what is also going to happen, which I'm not showing here because we're just taking sort of sneak peeks at these battles, is once you make it to the next location, so once you actually take this zone, this map will increase in size. So it's sort of deceptively small, because, of course, the goal is, over time, to grow that even more. You know, you'll see that map increase in size a bit. And you got situations like this on these streets where we got, for instance, an anti-tank gun, I'm pretty sure, on the end of the street. So we're going to have to work our way up there and eventually take that out. Otherwise, of course, in a city like this, urban combat, it's very easy to destroy armor. And I'm sure this is no exception over here. Yep, anti-tank gun at the end of the street. That's what I was saying. Boys better move quickly. Let's go. Might as well reverse a little bit. Yeah, just reverse. And I'm guessing this is going to be a big part of this particular DLC, is working your way through these streets and eliminating these anti-tank positions. You know what I'd love right now is a mortar. Oh, we got Germans on the ground. Oh my goodness. Yeah, they're absolutely going to be defending every part of the city. Let's just set up here and provide some covering fire. Who knows? If you stay in a position like this, you might be able to overwhelm that enemy defense and actually work your way through. Also got late Soviet uniforms. I'm not sure if you guys were seeing that body armor. Just a great representation of the Soviet uniforms of 1945 or 1944. A lot more advanced than the stuff you would see early war. And it's well represented in this DLC. That being said, folks, if you enjoy this and if you want to see more, particularly if you want to see actual large battles, you want to see us go through an entire one of these, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. The reason I say that is for one of these battles, to complete one, it's probably going to take a couple hours, so it's almost certainly going to be a streamed event. I do want to take this time to say, I know I haven't been on much. If you want me on more, all I can really say is hit that like button and comment on the videos. That's pretty much all I ask my viewers. It's a really big deal, and it's just honestly not really worth doing this if people are not going to follow through with that every single time. Because, quite simply, our channel gets completely ignored. So I've really been focusing on other things right now, which I kind of think is good anyway, but I would love to come back to a more regular upload schedule. So if you want that to happen, comment on the videos, leave a like, comment, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. Guys, I can't tell you how much it helps us out. Thank you so much. Definitely recommend this DLC, especially if you are a fan of course, this sort of wargaming content. If you like just cinematic war games, period, pick this one up. It is well worth your time, and I think definitely worth the cash. Is it 30 bucks? It's a little expensive, let's be honest. If it was 20, it'd be a little more acceptable, but still, you're going to have a lot of fun with it, so go ahead and pick it up. Thank you so much, guys. Take care, and I'll catch you on the next video.